So take the ECW pay-per-view and compare it to, like, say, a SummerSlam 2000 when it was RTC versus Too Cool. Like, what's it like time-wise? What's it like preparation-wise? What's it like day of?
Well, I will say there's a lot similar factors, but on a larger scale. The ECW pay-per-view was our first real live exposure to sticking to your time. And Raven, to his credit, had prepared me previous to that on certain TV tapings and even house shows to stay on that time because I needed the prep. They was we in ECW, we went as long as we could, and they just edited it for the TV taping, but this was live. So Raven, who has TV and pay-per-view experience of staying to that hard time, was really great at teaching me and keeping me on point with that. And I think the theme for that is quality over quantity because psychology wise, you start to think, okay, this move is just for a move. It doesn't make sense. And we only have 8 minutes. With the right to censor versus Tuchel and Rikishi, that was the biggest push of my career. But also at the same time, I just wasn't comfortable with the kind of worker I was. I was wearing the pants and the shirt. I was gaining weight. Things were not great from a psychological standpoint personally with me, and I was messing up. My work was actually the worst it's ever been. So I'll probably do a video of what went wrong with me as a worker. But I completely missed the Stevie kick on Scotty Too Hotty who was doing the worm. And I just didn't want to hit him and I didn't want to take his head off and I missed it and I messed it up. And that right there was probably something to where if I wasn't with the right to censor and Vince wasn't pushing that hard, I probably wouldn't have been on another pay-per-view for a long time. And I didn't deserve it because I messed up the finish. And Scotty had to lay there and take a 3 count on a kick that missed him by that much. So I still apologize to him to this day because he shouldn't have done that. It should have been done again. And if I was a smarter worker, I would have done something else. But the pressure of a pay-per-view is nothing like I don't think casual fans can ever really you can't really figure out the pressure until you're in it. And normally, the first pay per view for a lot of talents, there is a lot of mess ups. You just have to make sure that the fans don't think you messed up because that you mess up a spot, don't go right back into it. You mess up a spot, don't act like you messed up the spot. And that was something that, like, the first exposure to a major pay per view at WWE or WWF at the time was not a good showing for me. So that's my experience with that.
Did anybody say anything when you got to the back?
No, and I wish they did. And we'll talk about my channel with the smart board and everything. I think that that kind of culture should change. Like, because after that, and after I finally got experience and I got with the company and got to a certain point, I could tell certain agents, hey, coach me hard. Don't be mean to me and don't yell at me, but pick every single thing apart. When I come back, pull me by the arm and say, these 5 milliseconds you could have did better. Because that's what I need to hear. I didn't like when I used to come back and everybody was just like this, not clapping or anything, just a thumbs up from Vince or Hunter. I didn't like that because I knew there's no perfect match. You can always tell me something. And that's what I try to do now with the content and even communicating personally. I'm sure you do the same thing. You don't, if somebody legitimately wants to know how to get better, if you just do this or say, no, man, you're doing great, they know you're BSing them. And then you feel like, did I really leave my legacy with the younger talent or did I just get lazy and just want to get out of there? You've been in that spot, I'm sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you're right. A coach doesn't say the good things you did. He says what you need to work on. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then you
That's
don't
for
even
sure.
have to tell me any of the good stuff. Just tell me the bad stuff. And you know what I mean? That tells
Right.
me subconsciously, okay, the art stuff was okay. But, as you get more experience too, you start coaching yourself hard because you got to be accountable to yourself
Right.
and you can't trust other people's opinions sometimes. There's a very wrestling's insane. There's such a thin line between all that stuff, and you got to kind of learn it all the hard way. We're not second generation guys. We don't have our father or uncle to tell us. You and I had to figure it all out on our own.